Hello. Welcome back to the Kill a Bit of Time podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about a few little topics. I had a little mosey around the Dorset Show, so we're going to be talking about that and discussing a few little things I just decided were noteworthy on my way through. We're going to be talking a bit about bungalows. I'm going to do a cheeky little plunge. It's been a few weeks. So anyway, all that to look forward to and more. So sit back, relax and enjoy my ramblings on today's episode. So here we are then. Today's episode, I'm in the hot seat. You're in. You might not be in any seat whatsoever. You might be standing up. You might be in the car, which, you know, there's a seat in the car. So you might be sitting down there. I'm going to start this episode. Usually I start this episode with a lovely little sip of brew, but I haven't had one yet today. I'm on the Lucozade Orange, which is always my favourite. Hold on, I was going to have a little sip of my Lucozade Orange there. Always good to wet the whistle before an episode. You know what I mean? And I will be having a brew later. It's just that I just didn't feel like having one straight away. You know what I mean? You shouldn't tie yourself down to regimes. You should still be able to be free. Yes, it's good to incorporate, you know, systems and regimes and habits, positive, healthy habits in your life. But I found you shouldn't tie yourself down to them, because it's very easy to slip into putting yourself into little psychological prisons. And then that can be a source of negativity, because you might be like, right, I must have my fucking brew by 11 o'clock today. And then things happen, external circumstances that you can't control. One thing leads to another. You haven't had your brew. And then you're thinking, fuck, I haven't had my fucking brew. It's 11 o'clock. But hang on a minute. Who said you have to have that brew at 11? You did. You said it to yourself. So you're not in trouble with anyone other than your fucking self. So give yourself a bit of freedom. I mean, I'm not speaking for everyone. I'm sure not everyone's like me, but that's what I do. I sort of give myself little like habitual regimes, and then I sort of like beat myself up and I don't stick to them. So this Lucozade Orange I'm having today is a little bit of like a cheeky little segue from my usual routine. So I'm going to see how that works out for me. And I usually have something to eat before a podcast as well, but today I thought, fuck it. I feel like diving straight in, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm doing. And then afterwards, I'm going to have a lovely little bit of homemade ramen. I've always been partial to a ramen, but I've seen quite negative things about the health side effects of those packet ramen that you get, the dried noodles and the seasonings. So I'm sure they're not the best thing for you, however delicious and comforting they are. So I've started to steer away from the instant ramen, and I've moved on to these noodles you get from the Chinese market there. And I can't remember what they're called now. They're like ramen noodles. Anyway, you get them, and then I make my own broth with like a tom yum paste, some vegetables, a bit of onion, a bit of seasoning, chili flakes, that sort of thing. And I'm trying to make my own broth now, because I think it's a healthier version. So I'm going to be doing that after I finish this podcast. So it's something to look forward to. And so yeah. So in the meantime, let's kick things off. So my week, I went round the Dorset Show. And in the back of my mind now, whenever I go on these little excursions, I'm always thinking, I wonder what I could pick up and talk about on my podcast there. So I'm always keeping a little eye out for new and interesting things that sort of prick my little interest up. And so yeah, let me give you a little guided tour of what happened. So first impressions, turned up. I didn't have any like great grand ideas about what it was going to be. Dorset Show. My missus said it was good. £20 a ticket, bit steep. I was like, fuck it, not done it before. Let's go. We went along, and let me give you this brief overview, just to give a summary, in my opinion, all right? It's basically just a massive farmer's fair. It's all things farmland. You go in there, and there's just rows and rows of tractors, combine harvesters, little diggers and stuff like that, all sorts of farm machinery. And you're walking along, and it is quite impressive, some of them. You go, fucking hell, I bet that cost a few bob. That's about the extent of my knowledge. I don't even know that. I'm just guessing. I'll go, fucking hell, that looks expensive. And then you go, fucking hell, look at that. What is that? And then, you're just looking at these machines. Other things there is these big tents with signs on it. A massive, huge fucking tent. It says sheep. Another tent says pigs. Another tent says cows. Another tent says chickens. I mean, it just went on. It was just, and I'm not that big into farm type stuff. The extent of my farming knowledge is watching Clarkson's Farm, which I've spoken about on another podcast. Cheeky little disclaimer. Yes, Clarkson is a fucking knobhead, all right? So don't be thinking that I like Clarkson because I watched Clarkson's Farm. Clarkson's Farm's just quite funny, all right? And it does give a nice little insight into British farming as well, which is educational as well as entertaining. So anyway, so that's about my extent of the knowledge on the situation. So we had a little walk around. You know, here's what you'd expect: the cheeses, the chutneys, the little like boutique fucking gins and stuff like that. Craft. There's people doing all sorts of like craft, and it went a bit too far in my opinion. I mean, when there was a whole tent for like photography and drawings, I was like, why am I looking at like just amateur fucking people drawing little pictures? I mean, some of them were shit. Like some of them were just shit. I'm like, how are these getting? And then everything's getting like, it's a competition. Everything's getting marked and graded. Everything's got like first prize, second prize, third prize on it. And then it went too far in my opinion when they are doing like little, what are they? Oh, how would I call it? It was like a bouquet of flowers, but it wasn't flowers. It was like wheat. It was like, who could do the best wheat bouquet? And I was like, fucking hell, that's just too far. They're running out of ideas now. I went into one tent. It was like loads of grain. Who's got the best grain? And I was looking at all this grain in different bags, and I looked at the one that said first prize. This is the best grain. This is the best wheat. And I was like, what? Why? Why is it the best? And I plucked someone out who looked like they knew what they were talking about. I was like, excuse me, can I just ask you a quick question? They were like, yeah. I was like, why is this grain the best? And then they explained to me it's because it was the cleanest. There's no husks in there. And I'm boring myself fucking talking about it. So you could see how it was like, some people spent the whole weekend there. I would struggle to do that. I mean, it was good, but it was very like, you had to have a keen interest in farming to really enjoy it to its full benefits, I think. You know what I mean? But anyway, boring shit aside, these were some of the interesting things that I thought about it. Because there was no rules, it seemed. Anyone could set up there. I went to a chili festival a few weeks before that, and it was like you had to have an element of chilliness about you to be there. Yeah, but it was anyone could go. At the chili festival, they had one person selling fudge, one, and I think that's all they were allowed. Because if you don't hold them back, these fudge sellers, if you don't put rules in place, they'll fucking saturate the fucking place for people selling fudge. For some reason, there's just thousands of people selling fudge, and you could tell because at this Dorset show there was loads of them. Honestly, there was about probably bear in mind this was a farmer's fair, right? I reckon about 10% of the stalls were selling fucking fudge. They were just running fucking rampant in there. So anyway, walked past this one tent, right, with my mates and that, and it said free massages. I was like, free massage? That's a bit weird. And I had a look at it, and I didn't fancy a massage, but I was intrigued. Anything that's free, I'm like, yeah, I love a freebie, me. You know what I mean? Anyway, this other woman's like, oh, we're doing a free stress test. And I was like, free stress test? I'm trying to reduce my fucking stress levels at the minute. And just a cheeky little segue, right, because I haven't done a bit of self-improvement yet. I'm going to come back to this in a second. On that whole stress front, I've had a new little idea what I'm going to do, and that is start taking baths, because I accidentally had a bath the other day, and it was and the reason is my daughter had a bath in the morning, and usually she has a bath at night. This time we were like, fuck it, we'll give her a bath in the morning. And then there was all that bath water there, and I was about to have a shower, my morning shower, and I was like, hang on a minute, that's a waste of fucking water there. Why don't I have a bath? And I haven't had a bath in about 15 years. I mean that. Like, I don't like baths. I've never liked them. I don't get it. It's like I've tried it in the past. You sit down, you wash yourself, and then what? All that water just to sit there. What do you do? And I was like, what do you fucking do? I've washed everything. I'm clean. And that's like box ticked. Anything else now is unnecessary fucking sitting around. Anyway, that's why I never used to like baths. But anyway, so 15 years gone by. Okay, the last bath I had, I think I remember, I was in Australia. I was in a place called Bundaberg, and I got kicked out of the hostel there because I got caught pissing off a balcony. And they were like, what sort of place do you think we're running here? And it was a shit fucking place. There's bed bugs fucking everywhere. Bed bugs, right? You wake up and there's like a bed bug on your nose. Right? Some people got bitten worse than others. But anyway, I got bit a few times. And there was electricity running through all the metalwork. So you're trying to turn the tap on in the kitchen and you'd feel electric in there. It was like electric. It wasn't like a shock, like a pulsating shock, but you could feel like the buzz of electricity going into your fingers. So the place is a fucking dive anyway. But I didn't. There's pointless getting into an argument with him. You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, all right, fair enough. But the problem is, when you're kicked out of a hostel in Australia, they call all the other hostels and blacklist you in that town. So I tried checking into another hostel, and they were like, oh yeah, I managed to check in, right? Because this is before I got blacklisted. So I went straight to another hostel. I paid my $100 for the week or whatever it was. And then 2 days later, this bastard comes in. He's like, oh, you need to leave. You're being blacklisted. And I was like, I've already paid for a fucking week. Can I have my money back then? No, he said, no. I said, fuck you, I'm staying then. And he said, right, we'll call the police. So I was like, what? So I just left. Anyway, I left. And then this girl I was seeing at the time paid for me to go into this, what they called, motels. There's a lot of motels in Australia. She paid for me to stay in this motel. And in this motel, it was quite nice. And they had a huge fucking bubble bath. And I was like, fuck it, I'll have, as it's going. You know what I mean? I'm a backpacker. I've been living in rooms of like 8 to 10 for the last year with a load of crusty, sweaty backpackers. Now I've got the luxury of a bubble bath. I'm fucking taking it. So I had a few little whiskies for the minibar. And I sat there like fucking Al Capone having a bubble bath. I was loving it. Anyway, that was the last one I had. Until the other day, where I had this bath in the morning in my daughter's dirty bathwater. She gone. Mrs. took the kid away. I shut the door, settled down for a lovely little bath. It wasn't the hottest bath water in the world, but it was nice. And I washed myself, and I fucking then just lay there. And I was like, I understand now. It's like a little bit of relaxing time. You shouldn't always have to be doing something. And I thought, this is going to be good for me. This is going to be good because I'm trying to reduce my stress levels at the minute. And the longer I sit in this bath water and just relax, it's nice. So I'm going to start getting some bath salts. I'm going to start getting some oils. I'm going to get some candles. And I'm just going to sit in the bath. And I think that's going to be good for me. Because usually the only time I fucking get to myself these days is when you're having a shit. Innit? But even that's taken away sometimes because I've got my daughter banging on the door. Mrs. like, oh, let her in. She's crying at the door. And I fucking let her in. She looks at me whilst I'm having a poo. So I don't even get that time to myself anymore. But I reckon with the bath, she's had her bath. I put her in first. She go and fucks off to get changed. I can shut the door, lock the door, and then I can have a lovely little private fucking bath. And it can be a new little bit of me time. You know what I mean? Anyway, how did I get onto that? I was fucking Scientology tent. Talking about, reducing my stress. So I was talking to these Scientologists. I didn't know they were Scientologists at the time. All I knew was it was a big yellow tent. There was one person not offering out free massages and another person saying, are you stressed? We can find out if you want. And I was interested in that one. So I was like, all right, let's have a look. So I went in and you hold these two like metal handles and they're like, right, let's see if you're stressed. So I hold these two metal handles. They put this like dial in front of you with this pin that's set facing the middle. And then there's like a 0 on the left and then maximum, it goes into the red on the right. Anyway, she sets it so you're sitting on 0 and she goes, right, think about something that causes you stress. So I immediately just thought about idiots at work fucking annoying me and not doing what they're told. And then my little needle shot straight over to the 100% stressed. She's like, oh yeah, you're quite stressed. And then she gave me this whole spiel about how to reduce stress and all that bullshit. Now I started to lose interest. She tried to sell me a book for £4. I was like, no thanks. And I got up and I sort of like left. And then my mate was like, look, fucking Scientology. Up there, on top of the big yellow tent, was a little discreet sign that said Scientology. I was like, cheeky bastards. They're trying to lure you in with fucking free massages and Scientology. And they're trying to secretly indoctrinate you into this fucking Scientology fucking cult, which is like the only sort of like mainstream cult, acceptable sort of mainstream cult there is these days, isn't it? Scientology. I don't really understand it. I might look into it a bit more one day, but as far as I can tell, it's just a load of bollocks. It's just a business preying on vulnerable people who are probably mentally ill and they're looking for an answer. And then Scientology is there, happy and willing to take people's money in exchange for the answer to all of these poor fucking people's problems. And that's as far as I can gauge it. I might be wrong. It might be right. But anyway, we fucking left the tent and we had a little stroll round. I've already mentioned about the fucking insane amount of fudge sellers that was around there. At some point in the morning, we got a bit peckish. It was pretty fucking expensive around there. You know what I mean? Like all the meals, as you'd expect in any of those sorts of places, through the roof, fucking expensive. So we went for a hog roast roll. Hog roast roll wasn't massive, £9, like £10 nearly for a fucking roll, and it was nice. Don't get me wrong. Was it £9 nice? I'd probably challenge that. We were just trying to figure out, like, these people must be earning a fucking fortune. Got speaking to the bloke as you do, and I was like, how many do you do a day, mate? And he's like, oh, yesterday we did 1,000. We did 1,000 fucking hog rolls. That's nearly £9,000 a day on just top line revenue. Obviously, he's got some cost involved there. I asked him how much he spends on a pig. He said it's £350 a pig, and he got through three of them. So that's about £1,000 a day on stock. Yeah, not including bread. Let's say £1,200, and he's making 9,000. Let's say he's pitch fees, electric, water, that sort of thing. Let's say all in all he's spending about 12 grand. Sorry, £2,000. £2,000 maximum. That's still £7,000 bottom line he's taking per day. You know what I mean? That's 21 grand over 3 days potentially he could be making. It makes you think, like, am I in the right line of work? You know what I mean? Maybe that's a good little retirement plan one day. I don't know. Anyway, something else that was fucking awesome at this place, one of the good things, was ferret racing. There's this old bloke. There's a little sign that said next race at 1:30. I was like, right, let's check this out now. Had a load of ferrets in the cages, and you had a load of like drain pipes, different coloured drain pipes, pink, yellow, blue, brown, fucking red, I think, something like that. Anyway, he brought the ferrets out, loads of kids around, loads of adults, all just having a little look, see what's going on. And then I did think to myself, like, how interesting can this be? Like, he puts the ferrets in the pipes, they run out and go, hey, here's the winner, and that's it. Like, how it seems a little bit boring. And then I found out. He said, right, let's make this interesting. And he gets this like little bet book out, and he's like, right, put £1 down on what ferret you think is going to win, and if it wins, you get £2 back. And it was the ropiest little system you've ever seen. I doubt he's got a gambling license. And so we did that. I put £1 down on yellow. I didn't win, but it was quite interesting. It was like as soon as the gambling came out, everyone started like enjoying it more. There's something about it having £1 on the line, even if it's only £1. The fact that you've put money on it, everyone enjoyed it more. You could instantly tell the atmosphere improved instantly. It was great. He knew what he was doing. I mean, I don't know why people love gambling so much. It's a weird phenomenon, isn't it? How people become addicted to it as well. Like, they quite happily just fucking ruin their lives on it. They'll put their house on it. They'll put everything they've ever earned or owned or loved on the line in the chance of winning more. It's bizarre. But in small quantities like that, I like gambling. If it's £1 on a ferret, I'll give it a punt. You know what I mean? If it's £20 on horse racing, I'm like, right, that's too far. You know what I mean? Leave it. Anyway, they had some axe throwing at the thing, which I thought was quite cool, because I'm quite into like axes and things like that. I've got a little collection of stuff in my garage. I've got like a little hatchet. I've got some throwing knives. So one of my little projects back ago was to try and learn how to throw knives, and it's tricky. But anyway, it's interested me. So I was like, we got to do the axe throwing. Went over there. It was free, which was quite good. And it was just like, the funny thing about it was the person who was demonstrating it was shit. It's this woman. She was like, before you throw the axes, I'm going to show you how it's done, right? And to make sure you're being safe and to make sure you're doing it properly. We're like, okay, let's watch the fucking professional then. Do it first. She's like, right, you'd stand like this, put your left hand behind your back, line up, arm behind you, and throw. And she did it 3 times and missed every single time. Not only did she miss, but not one of the fucking axes even stuck into the board. So she was shit. We were all better than her. She's the one who's been doing it all fucking day long. Something else that happened was the government warning went off whilst we were walking around. You know, that sound that everyone's phone just goes off at pretty much the same time. It's a government warning, and it's to let you know shit's about to kick off. But it's always just a practice. It's always just a drill. So it just made me think, like, if it ever does actually happen, because we didn't get warned. I don't think we didn't say, right, we're doing a drill today. Everyone, if you hear the sound, don't worry about it. It's just a drill. There's none of that. It just went off. And everyone was like, oh, it's just that government thing. So if it ever did kick off for real, everyone would just assume it's another one of them. But it does seem like there could be shit kicking off soon because, they found a Russian fucking drone in Poland not long ago, which is not allowed to be there. It's like breaking some agreement they've got. And, that bloke got assassinated in Australia. What's his name? Charlie something or other. It's considered to be a political assassination. There's little things going on all over the place. So, and then they're warming up the old government fucking alert. What's going on? It feels like there's something going on. Shit's gonna hit the fucking fan soon enough. But anyway, back to the Dorset Show. I was looking around for one of these Tattersall shirts. They're called Tattersall shirts, right? And you'll see them. All the farmers have got them. And they're like green or blue crisscrosses usually. It's not checkered because it's like lines. It's like crisscross lines all over. And all the farmers wear them. It's like their uniform. They all wear these shirts. And they all wear these like little blue gilets or the green gilets over it. And then they've got a flat cap and things like that. It's their little fucking get up. And I decided I'm going to keep my eye out for one of these shirts and a gilet and a fucking flat cap. And the reason I'm going to do it is for the pure reason is to wind my sister up. So when I go over to Gloucester next week to see my sister, my mum and my dad, I'm going to go over dressed like a cunt and just see what my sister's reaction is because she fucking hates landowners and farmers and things like that. She fucking can't stand them. So I'm just going to turn up dressed up like one of them. And I'm just going to pretend that's what I look like now. Because I haven't seen her about a month and a half. And I'm prone to doing pretty weird stuff. So they might fall for it. They might think I actually dress like that now. So I'm going to see what they say. I'm going to be like, yeah, this is me now. I'm going to say, I've joined the Young Farmers and Landowners Association and this is what we wear. All right. And I'm thinking about purchasing some land as well. And just see what her reaction is. See if she kicks off. So yeah, I managed to find one of those shirts. I managed to find a gilet. I haggled with the marketeers because I didn't really want these items. I didn't really want to pay top dollar for them. I didn't care if I didn't get them either. So I was in a perfect position for haggling. So I genuinely didn't give a shit if I didn't get these items. So I was like, look, mate, I'll give you, can I have two for 30 quid? Because my mate wanted one as well. And he's like, no. So we went to another store. And I was like, look, can I have two for 30 quid? Anyway, go speak to boss man. So I went and spoke to boss man, this bloke wearing a big yellow high vis. And I was like, can I get two for 30 quid? He's like, yeah. You could tell he didn't give a shit at that point. This was Sunday. The show started on Friday or Saturday or whatever. I think he'd had enough. He was happy just to fucking give a few bargains away. And I quite like haggling. I'm used to it because I've done it a lot in when you go traveling. It's the done thing in a lot of countries. Nepal, Morocco, a couple of the countries, haggling is just the done thing. The price on the shelf is not the real price. You go under. You got to discover where the real price is. If you just give them the money for what the fucking shelf price is, you're a mug. You even get some shops in Nepal, I've seen them, where they go set price shops. They have to say if it's a set price shop because all the other shops, it's expected that you haggle. And I think they should bring it back in England. I'd love to go into Boots and pick up some fucking paracetamol or something and going up to the cashier and going, I'll give you 15p. How about that? They'd be like, what the fuck are you on about? It's 28p. I'd be like, yeah, but I'll give you 15. No, meet me in the middle. I might start trying it, see what they say. You know what I mean? Imagine if you're in Tesco's. But the problem is then you've got the self-service checkouts. They're the fucking Achilles heel of haggling, isn't it? Because you can't haggle with them. You can only haggle with humans. So maybe the future is it's going to die out because as service sort of turns into more automated digital service with self-checkouts, you can't haggle with them unless they bring in some sort of like digital haggling system where you've got to type in your offer. You go, right, I want this bag of peas, these frozen peas. You have to type in your offer and then you just type in £1.10 and then the computer goes, no, you can have them for £1.30 and you meet in the middle. But then that would be a long-winded fucking process at checkouts, isn't it? Imagine if you had a trolley full of shit you're trying to haggle each item down. You'd be like, fuck it, just put it through. Yeah, I think thinking about it, haggling's going to die out in it. But at these little market stalls, it's good. You know what I mean? But the best thing about my day at the Dorset Show was the drunk cheeseman. Oh, the drunk fucking cheeseman. It was hilarious. Went into the food tent, as you'd expect. Cheeses, chutneys, boutique fucking artisan donuts, little like rums, fucking homemade cider, fucking all that shit. Have a sample of this, have a sample of that. And you could just walk through having samples. Olives, you know what I mean? Fudge. It was all over. You just take a little cocktail stick and you work your way around. And you go get a fucking belly full of samples. So I was doing that. But there's a certain etiquette, isn't there? So when you're doing these sample tasting. For example, if you want like a bit of I don't know, salted caramel fudge, for example, you take a bit, you taste it. Now, it's frowned upon to go in for a second taste of the same thing. Because it's like, you tried a bit, why are you trying it again? Now you're just eating it. You know what I mean? If you can have more, but it's more socially acceptable to have a different flavour. If you keep going at the same flavour, you're just having a picnic, aren't you? So I'm usually pretty good like that. I'll get my fucking money's worth of the free sample. I'll get as much as I can get, but I'll sort of be polite with it as well. I won't overstep the line. And there is a fucking line. Everyone knows where it is, but nobody talks about it. And anyway, this is all underway, walking away around until we got to this one fucking bloke, and he had a bit more of a crowd than the other people. And I was like, oi, what's going on here then? So I fucking went over. And I was like, it's a cheeseman. He was dishing out cheese. And I was like, I'll have a bit of cheese. And what struck me first of all is his lumps of cheese were quite big. Most people are quite stingy with their lumps of cheese. But this fella, they like good lumps of cheese. So I stood there for a bit. And so did my mates. And then it slowly dawned on us that this guy was pissed. Obviously, we started to notice this from his slurring words, his stumbling around, his bumbling around. And the way he was talking. You could tell he's been dishing out cheese all day, and he was sort of like in flow. He was just in flow, just giving out cheese. And he's going, and we're now going to try the double Gloucester. Oh yes, we'll do like a bit more, and then he'd work his way around all the cheeses. He only had about 6 cheeses, and we were there for a little while. And then by the third time we were having the same cheese again, he was going, and let's try the double Gloucester again. And then he'd open up another fucking block of double Gloucester. And he was chopping it up, like real drunk, like chopping it up. And we were like, fucking hell, this guy's pissed. And we just stood there, just eating cheese, just looking at him. It was like being at the cinema, and instead of popcorn, we had cheese. Instead of a movie, we had him. And we were just watching him, laughing, just eating cheese. He's giving us cheese. We were laughing at him. He was giving cheese to us. And then my mate noticed he had a fucking bottle of vodka in front of him, sort of covered up with a few lumps of cheese. And next door to him, he had these people who were selling vodka. Vodka made from milk or some shit. It was clear. It wasn't like milky. But it was vodka made from milk somehow. I don't know how the fuck it works. But they'd obviously given him a bottle, and he was about halfway through that bastard, and you could tell. And the best bit about it was when he was chopping up his cheese and that, he went to scrape off all the crumbs, like all the crumbage into the bin, and he dropped the whole fucking chopping board for the cheese, and he went, "Oh, bit windy in here." I was like, "It's not windy, mate. We're in a tent. There's no wind." So he dropped his chopping board, blamed it on the wind, and then so at one point when I was like tucking into the double Gloucester for the fucking 7th time in a row, I was like, right, let's go now, because he will just carry on giving us cheese. And I felt a bit bad because I'd eaten a lot of cheese, so I bought a block off him. It was like £5, but I reckon I had about £12.50's worth of cheese just fucking standing there. So that was it, and that was the highlight of my day, the drunk cheeseman. And so yeah, that was it. Dorset Show. That's pretty much the Dorset Show summarised. And now I'm going to move swiftly on to a feature that I'm done in about 4 weeks. You might be familiar with it. Those of you who aren't, it's called a cheeky little plunge. It's where I take a little, I'll take a little word or a topic or a phrase, and I'll do a little deep dive into it. Apart from it's not a deep dive, it's a cheeky little plunge. So here it is, and the jingle goes a little something like this: a cheeky little plunge. Well, here it is, a cheeky little plunge. It's been a while. I'm not going to lie to you cunts either. I took that opportunity after dropping that jingle to go and get myself a lovely little cup of brew. I couldn't resist. The time was right, you know what I mean? I felt it was the time. I thought, you know what? I'm fucking ready. And I went and did one. Reishi, lion's mane, a little mixture of other bits and bobs in there as well there, and a bit of honey to give it that sweet little kick as well. So anyway, here we are, cheeky little plunge. My little plunge today is going to be on bungalows. And they sound pretty boring, but the reason I'm interested in them is, first of all, it's a bit of a weird word, isn't it? Bungalow. Where did that come from? So that pricked my little interest up. And then, as well as that, I'm interested in bungalows because, sorry, I'm just going to take a antihistamine because well, I have to take antihistamines because it just sorts me out. Even though I'm only allergic to dust mites, whenever I've got like a snivelly nose or just feeling a little bit run down or whatever it might be, for some reason, antihistamines just sort me out. So I take them quite a lot. Anyway, I'll just pop one then. Anyway, back to the bungalows. The reason I'm interested in bungalows is because I'm in the middle of, I've nearly paid my mortgage off. All right, we've got about 30 grand left to pay. And then after that, we're like, right, what are we going to do next? We want to upscale. We want to get a bigger house with a bigger garden because at the minute we've got a 3-bedroom house and it's just not enough because one of them is a tiny little box room. And if we want to have a second kid, then we're gonna have to have a bigger house. And the kitchen's fucking tiny as well. So I just thought, yeah, it'd be nice for us. You know, I'm only 36, my partner's 27. I think we can still, like, if we want to, we can just take out another 100 grand mortgage maybe and just upscale. Anyway, so that's on the horizons coming up soon. And I would quite like, because what I've seen when I'm looking around, what I'm quite like is bungalows. They're interesting. They're good. They always tend to have like quite interesting layouts. They always seem to be detached. They always seem to have a fair little bit, like quite big gardens. So I was like, I would quite like to keep an eye out for a bungalow. Preferably a doer-upper. Something that you could add value to. And when we add value to our houses, like me and my partner, we're not that good. We're not carpenters. We're not plasterers. But we can do the basics: floors, walls, and ceilings. Replace doors. Replace light switches. Replace handles and things like that. Like a facelift, we can do all that. Like putting sleepers in the garden, giving the garden a bit of a renovation. So all that sort of stuff that you can sort of add value to, which is half the battle, to be fair. Without knocking any fucking walls down, you can do a lot of it yourself. So I'm looking for something like that with a bit of land attached to it. It'd be awesome. Anyway, I was like, I'm on the lookout for a bungalow. My partner's not as keen as I am. I'm dead keen on a fucking bungalow. And it just got me thinking about the word bungalow. And I was like, why is it called a bungalow? It's a bit of a strange word. It doesn't sound like an English word. It sounds like a made-up word. If bungalows didn't exist and someone said to you, what's that house there? You went, all right, you've got a terrace, yeah, you've got detached, and you've got semi-detached. And you go, what's that one over there? You go, bungalow? You'd be like, what do you want? What do you mean smoking fucking crack? What do you mean bungalow? So it's a weird word. And so I had a little look into it. I had a cheeky little look into it and found out the origin of this bungalow business. And it originally comes from the Hindi word Bengali. Bengali, the Hindi word. So it's an Indian word. And it came from the times when the British were colonising India. And, you know, they were there between the mid sort of 1700s right up until about 1947, all the way through the First and Second World Wars. We had a presence in India, and they had a lot of these single-story houses mainly in this region of India called Bengal, which is on the eastern side, just below Nepal. And so yeah, that's where sort of they got their name from. It's a Bengali. The British, sort of like all the British officers and things like that tended to live in these single sort of story buildings with a veranda. That was like the classic style of the Bengali house in that eastern India, in the Bengal region. But a lot of people forget that we colonized India for quite a long time. Like there's a strong British influence in India. And a lot of the Indians, nationals, fought for us in the First and Second World Wars. In World War One, 1.4 million Indians fought for us in various parts of the areas where World War One was kicking off, like North Africa. You know what I mean? All those sorts of places. It wasn't just fucking like in Germany, France, and fucking England. That's, you know what I mean? It spread a lot across a lot of fucking countries. World War Two, 2.5 million Indians fought for Britain or the Allies in that war as well. And people forget that. So when you hear these like sort of like fascists getting annoyed with Mr. Patak in the fucking corner shop, going bloody Pakis in the corner shop. Hang on, don't forget that collectively, nearly 4 fucking million of them fought for us in the First and Second World Wars. You know what I mean? That annoys me about this sort of anti-multiculturalism. People forget that it wasn't just white British people fighting for us in these wars. There was a lot of different cultures fighting for us. You know what I mean? So I think ignorance is the problem there. But anyway, yeah, Far East India, place called Bengal. You might be familiar with the Bengal tiger, right? And that's like it's the biggest tiger there is, and it comes from that region. And it's quite scary because when I was in Nepal, they said to me, and Nepal's quite close to Bengal, but Bengal's south of Nepal. And then when I was in Nepal, I was staying in this village with this family, and I was doing like these little village treks just around like the mountains. It wasn't quite up to like this base camp and like the snowy fucking peaks, but below that there's a lot of like hilly, mountainous sort of areas, and in them you've got a lot of Nepalese villages, and that's where I was sort of knocking about for a bit. And once I was doing one of these walks, the tour guide bloke, who's only about, I think he's about 20, and he was like, yeah, one of my cousins was taken by a tiger around here. I was like, you fucking kidding me? Around here? And I was just looking around me, thinking, how do you know? What the fuck? Are you serious? There's tigers knocking about. I don't feel safe in it anymore. I don't know to this day if he's fucking winding me up or not. He might have just been having a laugh, because somebody else told me that all the tigers in Nepal had been killed. There wasn't any left. But he said his cousin was fucking had by one. And he said the scary thing about tigers is you won't see them. He said they see you, but you don't see them. And all of a sudden, you're fucked. And they just fucking have you. Because they'll stalk you. They'll silently stalk you. And then when they decide the moment is right, they'll fucking have you. So he said that about his cousin. I don't know if it's true. But he wasn't smiling when he was talking about it. So maybe it is true. But anyway, in this Bengal region, these single store houses were called Bengalis. The word changed from Bengali to bungalow. Bengali to bungalow. And so yeah, that's sort of where the word come from. And they brought it over to England. And it's just the thing that's weird for me about it is how come the idea for a single story house came before the idea of having a 2-story house? You know what I mean? Surely you start from the bottom up. Surely you go from, right, we've done 1 story, now we'll do another one. Right, now we'll do another one after that. And then you get a 3rd story. But, start from the bottom up. It's like someone coming along and going, I've got this idea for a multi-story car park. Yeah, we've got 4 stories of car park. But the problem is, yeah, you don't need that many stories. And then someone turns around and goes, have you thought about doing just 1 story? And they goes, fuck, I didn't think of that. It's just weird how we went suddenly to that. But it turns out in history that multi-story houses have been around for fucking thousands of years, which I didn't realise until I did my cheeky little plunge. The Egyptians built multi-story buildings 4,000 years ago. The ancient Romans even built apartment blocks up to 5 stories high. That's ancient Rome they were building these fucking things. It seems like as soon as we were out of the caves and the fucking mud huts, we were straight bang into the multi-story business. We wanted high buildings. And I thought, why is that? Why did we go, right, we need multi-stories straight away? Even back 4,000 fucking years ago. It's not as if we, like nowadays, like in like China and stuff like that, it's a necessity. They've got multi-story buildings to save space because there's such densely populated areas. They've run out of fucking room. They had to start building up. But 4,000 years ago, there was a lot less people than today. So what was the fucking need? There's loads of space. So why were they fucking building up then? That just got me thinking. I was like, why? Why did they do that? And I just thought maybe it goes back to like the primal urge of wanting to be up high for sort of like a matter of safety. It's like monkeys in a tree. They want to be up high, don't they, to keep safe away from the snakes and the dangers on the ground. And maybe it's that sort of like primal instinct that's in us that still wants us to be up in multi-story fucking buildings. It's like a concrete tree. So I thought maybe it's a bit like that. It's the same reason why we like to sleep upstairs. It's the same reason we don't have fucking bungalows in the first place. We had to nick the idea from Bengal. It's because we were scared about being down low. We wanted to sleep upstairs. It's like why the bedrooms are upstairs in every fucking house you go to. Why? It's because we're scared of being downstairs at night time when the danger's around. I thought it must be that. It must be. Because it does. It just feels natural, doesn't it? We like to be up high. Even as a kid, we're loving just running around, climbing a tree. You know what I mean? You want to be on the top. If you're a kid, you want to be on the top bunk. The top bunk is the best place to be when you're a kid. You can look down on the rest of what's going on. It just feels good to be up there. For some reason, it's the other way around in prisons. In prisons, it's better to be on the bottom bunk. Top bunk is like the people who are less hardcore, the people who lose the fights. They're the ones who are on the top bunk. And I was trying to think, why is that then? Why is it the other way around in prisons? And it got me thinking that the people on the bottom bunk, they've got like an ego, they've got a bravado to live up to. They're like, right, we won the fight. We're on the bottom bunk because we're not fucking scared of the dangers. Bring the fucking danger on. You hide up there away on that top bunk, my friend. You hide away up there. That's because you're scared and I'm not. And I think that's the mentality of the top bunk situation in prisons. I think that's why it's the other way around in there. But even at cinema, you know what I mean? It's better to be at the top. You always go to cinema, you go to the top, you go, for fuck's sake, all the seats are taken. No cunt sitting on the bottom row. I can tell you that for nothing. But we don't need to do it anymore. There's no dangers anymore down there. Come down out of your tree. Live in a bungalow. Bungalows are the way forward. You know what I mean? We've moved on. We don't live in trees anymore. Yeah? Why don't you switch your house around? Put all your bedrooms downstairs and put your kitchen upstairs. Yeah? So don't be worried about it. Or, even better, live in a bungalow like I'm trying to do. We need to break free of our primal chains and start fucking like challenging modern day fucking things which we just come accustomed to. It's just acceptable now to presume that the fucking bedrooms are upstairs. You know what I mean? Why aren't we challenging this sort of stuff? But I mean, there are some downsides to living in a bungalow, which I'll discuss now. They are more susceptible to burglaries. Which I suppose is like a little bit of a danger in a way. The burglar is like the modern day snake. And that's because they've got more windows. They tend to be isolated. They're easy to break into. They're more likely to have vulnerable people in them because old people like to live in bungalows because they don't like to go up the stairs because they've got bad hips. So they are more susceptible and likely to be burgled. And for that reason, they tend to be more expensive as well because they're more sought after by old people, and old people tend to have a little bit more money in their pockets for their little life savings there. So, and not only that, but they've got a bigger land footprint because they tend to have a bit more land, and obviously the rooms have got to be spread out. And there's more potential for renovations, like loft conversions, or then they're technically not a bungalow anymore, really, are they? But they are. Or you can build outwards. You know what I mean? You can extend your veranda, or you can have a little extension on there. So they've got more potential for renovations, which therefore increases the value as well. So they tend to be a little bit more upmarket, generally, unless they're run down, and that's the sort of fucking bungalow I'm looking for. But anyway, there's more ways to get in. But for me, it's just like if I got a bungalow and that was a potential risk, get an alarm system, man, or some more cameras. I've got a couple of cameras on my house now. I've got a front camera and a back camera. And that most of the time, they're pretty useless. It's just videos of the fucking postman coming every day. But I think they did come in handy once because we got a kitchen done, right, once ages ago. Bought it from B&Q. Fucking rip-off. But it's the only thing we could do at the time. I think we paid about $5,000 for this fucking kitchen. And then another $3,000 to get it installed. But anyway, that's another story. We found this kitchen fitter bloke online. We got him over. we got him over to do our kitchen. And anyway, there's always a little bit of you that thinks, we got to go to work. We're allowing this stranger to be on our house. So we sort of hid our valuables, like the most valuable small things that we had. Made sure there's no money lying around, that sort of thing. He's not going to walk out with a fucking Xbox, is he? But little bits and bobs, you just tuck him away. Anyway, he was a smoker. He'd go out for fags every now and then, and we were watching him on the cameras. And most of the time, he was absolutely fine. But then one time, he came round to the front of the building. He had no business being there. And we got those big windows that open up like flaps. You could easily like climb in if it was open. Anyway, the little motion sensor went off. He was down there, and he was like putting his finger under the window, like pulling it a little bit. He was like checking it out. And then he looked up because a little light flash flickers on sometimes on the motion sensor. He looked up, realised he was being filmed, and then sketchily sort of walked away. So I reckon he was casing it out a little bit to see how easy it was to get into, So already the cameras, they've been handy already, you know what I mean? But apparently burglars, they've got a reputation for taking a shit when they're in the middle of their burgling. They look it up. For some reason, burglars love to take a shit when they're doing their burgling, whether that's on the floor, in the toilet, wherever. And apparently, some explanations I found for this. So I looked up why. I've got my own theory, by the way, but I had a little look it up because it's such a common thing. People have got their own little theories. Some people think it's because of anxiety. It's like an anxious poo. They're anxious. They're having a poo. I've never really had an anxious poo. When I get anxious, it's not the first thing that springs to mind, having a shit. Some people think it's an act of disrespect. They're like, not only am I going to burgle you, I'm going to shit on your floor as well. I think just the burglary itself is enough disrespect. I think the shit on the floor is just adding insult to injury. And, on that, adding insult to injury, I've always thought, like, which one is it? Because my mate, right, let's call him Presley. We'll call him Presley, right? He challenges my my views on sayings and things like that. Like when we had these little roll-ups when we smoked backy back in the day. I used to think it was called a prism roll because of the shape of it, because there's such little backy in there. But he told me that I was wrong. He enlightened me, and he said, "No, it's not prism. It's prison roll, because you don't have much backy in prison." I was like, "All right." And he used to challenge me all the time with these sayings that I was fucking getting wrong. And anyway, one day I was like talking about that saying, adding insult to injury. And then I've always thought it's adding insult to injury. Like you kick someone in the shin and then you call him a dickhead. And not only have I caused you an injury, I'm insulting you as well. I'm kicking you in the shin and I call you a dickhead. Both. You know what I mean? Not only have you kicked me, you fucking called me a name, mate. Adding insult to injury. But I realised maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's adding insult to an injury. Like, hang on a minute, I've cut my leg open and then you rub insult into it. Makes it hurt even more. So maybe it's that. Maybe I got it totally fucking wrong. Anyway, that was just a little bit of a segue. I might be wrong. I might be right. Let me know. But adding insult to injury might be taking the shit whilst you're doing your burgling. I think the burgling is enough disrespect on its own. But anyway, I don't think it happens as much these days. Because I reckon it happened more back in the day, before DNA fucking came along. You'd be pretty stupid to take a shit now in a house when you're doing a burglary. You're just laying a big fucking lump of DNA on the floor, aren't you? It's like, do you want to find me? Here's my DNA. I've left a lump of DNA on your pillow for you. There you go. Come find me. Yeah, and then you just got to hope they're on the system, haven't they? But I've got my own explanation for this, right? And basically, right, I think it's adrenaline. I think it's adrenaline speeding up your metabolism. Because when you're doing something naughty, your adrenaline pumps round, and that then speeds up your metabolism and makes you want to go for a poo. That's what I think. And the reason I think this is because I'm kind of talking from experience. Not that I've burgled a house, but I've broken into somewhere. And don't fucking judge me yet. This is a prank, okay? Where I work, you have people living on site, yeah. And there was this one bloke called, let's call him Nal McGee. Let's call him Nal McGee. His name is Nal McGee, this old Scottish fella, right? With a slap bald head, glasses, and he drank about 16 pints of fucking lager a day. And he smoked like a chimney. I don't know how the fuck he's still alive. He's a little bit like Doc Cotton. He just fucking goes on and on and on and on and doesn't age. He's looked the same for the last 265 years. Anyway, he lived on site, and I was getting pissed, and we used to live together, right? And I used to play pranks on him all the time. I used to like super glue Rizzlers to his head and stuff like that, and he'd wake up in the morning and have to go to work with like fucking old paper marks where he couldn't get it all off, all over his fucking head. It was great fun. Anyway, he moved to another lodge eventually, and I got pissed, and I was like, right, I feel like pranking Neil McGee. Oh shit, I said his name. Ah, fuck it. Anyway, I went down to his lodge, all locked, and I was like, right, I'm getting in there. Bathroom window open. I was like, right, let's squeeze through this motherfucker. I managed to squeeze in there, and whilst I was doing it, I had a strong urge for a poo. So I think that's why. And it was the adrenaline. I didn't take a poo. I didn't leave any DNA knocking around. I'm not stupid. But what I did whilst I was in there was I put salt in his milk. I put salt in his beer and his shoes. What else did I do? I think I did better stuff than that as well, but I can't remember right now. Anyway, I messed with a load of his stuff and then left. And yeah, that's what we did. That's what we did to each other. It wasn't just me as well. And so lodges are single story. So yeah, I suppose they are pretty easy to break into. But if I was in a bungalow, I'd have measures there to protect myself. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was like I said, it wasn't just me. We had lodge wars back then. And for example, I'd come back sometimes. My entire fucking lodge had been tinfoiled. My room, my guitar, my mattress, my pillows. I reckon there's a good like 30 quid's worth of tinfoil, just and some good effort gone in there as well. But I think my ones were better. My neighbours, right? These lesbians, right? I did them pretty fucking good. I snuck in there one night. I turned everything upside down. Microwave, chairs, kettle, whatever I could get my hands on, I turned it upside down. It took me ages. And another time, I barricaded them in with like picnic benches and shit. I nearly got in trouble for that one actually, because they were like, oh, if they had a fire, they couldn't get out, and the person couldn't get to work. They're like, oh, thingy's late. He's like, why? So, oh, I've been barricaded into my fucking lodge. Anyway, so barricaded them in. But the best one was they had these cats, right? These fucking cats. I think they had about 6 cats. They just let them have kittens, and the cats are just fucking roaming around in and out of the lodge. But what they used to do was they used to leave the front window open so the cats could get in and out. So what I did, I had this tin. Oh yeah, and cats are most active at night, by the way. They're fucking well active at night, and I knew this. So I got this tin of paint, and I just white paint, and I poured it on the ground in front of the window. So then all night long, the cats were stepping in it, jumping up and going into the lodge, and then walking around everywhere. So when they fucking woke up in the morning, the place is covered, absolutely fucking covered in little paw prints. Little white paw prints fucking everywhere. So they were not best pleased about that one, to be fair. So I just kept my head down for a bit. They got over it within about 24 hours. Eventually, they saw the funny side of it. You know what I mean? They weren't totally innocent themselves, so they sort of had to take it on the chin. You know what I mean? But that was the best experience I've had of bungalows so far. That's what lodges are, really. They're like miniature bungalows. And so that's where my cheeky little plunge took me. All right, so yeah. So that's it for today, as I'm out of time. I was going to do like a little poem or a little skit today, but I just realised I've got a little tune in the back pocket about this Neil McGee fella that I wrote fucking yonks ago. So I'm going to dig it out and just chuck it on the end of this podcast, because I doubt I'm going to bring up this bold slaphead fucking Scottish goon again. So as this is the only time he's going to pop up, I guess this is the only time I've got to slap on this little tune about him. So here it is. I'll leave you with that, and I'll bid you farewell. And I'll see you next week, where we'll have another invigorating episode of the Kill a Bit of Time podcast. Goodbye.
I know a man named Neil McGee. He's old and skinny and 73, and I'll see him in the bar tonight. Neil McGee works in the chippy, old and free, old and free. 7:30 in the morning we will meet. He's got breakfast ready by 8:15. Bacon, sausage, eggs, hash browns, and baked beans. Neil McGee works in the chippy, old and free.